Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Peyton. If you're lucky enough, in the background you can hear a lovely C-17 flying over us right now. Okay, so today I'm going to be sharing with you my pregnancy recap. I'm going to go through all 3 trimesters, but I'm going to do a different video on the 4th trimester because it is very real. And I'm also going to do a different video that goes over our birth story, which was super exciting. And in this video, I am also going to share with you the miracle that God worked in my pregnancy for me and for our baby. Like, it was truly, it was miraculous. What can I say? Okay, so I'm going to start off with how we found out I was pregnant. I remember I was feeling really tired and I wasn't doing well at the gym. I was working out and Cody was there with his friend and he came in and I was so mad. And I was like, I better be pregnant because I can't do anything. I can't lift anything right now. I was so angry. And the morning I found out, Cody was working that day from like 7 to 3. And I had been freaking out the last couple days wondering if I was pregnant. So I woke up at like 7 and I was like, okay, I'm just going to take it and go back to bed so I have some peace of mind and I know that everything's all good. Oh, no. That is not what happened. Sitting there, head in my hands, like I'm like basically falling asleep while I'm waiting. And then I look and I did like a double take. And I just remember I saw my life flash before my eyes, not in like a I'm dying way, but I just remember thinking, I'm never not gonna be someone's mom now. Like for the rest of my life, I'm gonna be someone's parent. And that is amazing, but it was terrifying too. And I remember thinking, I was like, no way. Like, there's just no way. And ugh. I actually went on YouTube and I looked up Kristen John's her video from when she found out she was pregnant with her first, because that is exactly how I felt. Like she's looking at it and she's like, no. And it's not because you're upset. You're just like, what? Like, there's no way this is real life. I was like, okay, I need to have a fun way to tell him. So I went to Walmart and I picked out a cute little onesie, and I probably sounded so insane because I was walking through the children's section at Walmart by myself and I was like, there's no way. There's just no way. Like out loud, I was saying this. So I picked out a little onesie and I got some M&Ms for Cody because he had requested them. And that day, it was actually great timing because I had an appointment at our med group on base for like something else. So when I was there, I was like, hey, can you guys just double check my pregnancy and just confirm that's true? And they're like, yeah. So Cody gets home from work and I was like, hey, close your eyes. I have a surprise for you. And he's like, yeah, okay. He just thought he was getting M&Ms. And he opens his eyes and I'm like holding the little onesie up. In his face, he was just like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, I'm serious. And we joke about it because afterwards he's like, yeah, I honestly didn't really believe you until med group called and confirmed it. And I was like, oh, why would I lie about that? I didn't film any of it, but you know, it's ingrained in my memory, and that's really all that I need. And we ended up telling our parents that night because my mom is my best friend and I know myself. I cannot send a text message without telling her. Like, I needed to tell her. So we told our parents that night and our friends and family not that long after. And yeah, it was really exciting. So let's move into the first trimester, which was, it was rough. It was rough. No one told me that like you cramp so bad the first trimester. I thought for sure something was wrong. No, it's just your uterus being like, hey, there's a baby in here. What's going on? I was cramping a bunch. I had morning sickness from I think weeks 5 through 10. And honestly, as far as morning sickness goes, I know it could have been so much worse, but mine was pretty bad, especially when it came to taking supplements, because obviously during pregnancy you have like a million supplements you need to be taking. And I distinctly remember one time I took like my fish oil pill and then I just projectile vomited all over the bathroom. Like, y'all, it was on the walls. On the walls. That's terrifying. But like, also, should I get a medal for that? I'm kind of impressed. My mom, bless her, she tried to get me like those bracelets, you know, that do the acupressure point. That didn't do a thing for me. And honestly, the thing that helped the most was just continuously eating popcorn and Ritz crackers and calling it good. I do remember one day I got home from work and I was just laying in our bed feeling so sick. And then I like sat upright and I was like, Cody, we need to go to Chick-fil-A. If I don't have Chick-fil-A, I'm gonna die. And he was like, okay. So him being the sweet husband that he is, he drove me an hour each way to go get Chick-fil-A. I'm in the front seat of the car, just trying not to throw up as we get there. Honestly, it wasn't really worth it, but you know, it's the thought that counts. And for some reason, my body just really felt like it needed Chick-fil-A. So yeah, I had my Chick-fil-A cravings. I don't think my cravings were very weird. I really just craved a lot of like salt, meat, eggs, cheese, butter, stuff like that. But I do remember thinking, I was like, this is a girl. This baby's a girl. Like, everyone who thinks that this baby is a boy is a fool. But it turns out I, in fact, was the fool. So the other thing that happened first trimester that was not good, and this one was a little bit more serious, was around 6 weeks I started having some spotting, and so we went to the ER in town. But God bless the people who work at this hospital. They're amazing, but it's really underfunded, and so they didn't have an ultrasound that could see baby boy when he was that little. So we had to drive an hour to the bigger town to go to the hospital there, and they were able to do an ultrasound, confirm that he was okay. But I did have something called a subchorionic hemorrhage, which I was told is not normal, but it's common, which was like, I guess, reassuring. I guess it's where the placenta, where it attaches to the uterine wall, there's like a little kind of gap almost, and so blood can get in there and then slowly leak out. And thankfully it's usually not serious, and that was the case for us. It resolved by itself by the second trimester. The first trimester in and of itself is just utterly terrifying, so to add on something like that was not a good time, and I was very happy to be done with the first trimester. So second trimester, I definitely understand why they say is the honeymoon period of pregnancy. My morning sickness was gone, and we got to find out the gender. We did the blood testing that does genetic testing too, and so we found out at like 14 weeks. And our friend, she was so sweet, we sent her the results, and she bought this hockey puck that had like blue or pink powder in it. So for the gender reveal, we got together at the hockey rink on base, and Cody hit the puck and the blue powder came out, and I was very surprised because I was team girl all the way, but he's a boy and I'm very excited, and we would have been happy either way, but having a little boy has been so fun. Let me also note that Cody was a hockey player and does continue to play hockey, and we did not just choose like a random hockey theme for our gender reveal. So around 20 weeks is when I finally started to get kind of a baby bump, and I honestly had been wearing maternity clothes since like 11 weeks because the thought of a tight waistband made me nauseous. But I finally was getting a little baby bump, which is exciting because I kind of just looked like I'd eaten a giant burrito for breakfast. Yeah, so I was finally getting a cute little baby bump. And then at 20 weeks is when you can go in and do what's called the anatomy scan. It's just like an hour-long ultrasound where they just check everything, make sure baby's growing okay. So it was really fun to get to see him for an hour, and we got to see his little face and like more of his features and his little hands, and it was amazing and so reassuring, and I loved it. It was also second trimester when I started to feel him move a little bit more. I distinctly remember the first time I really felt him move, it terrified me because I did not know what was happening. We were driving to College Station to go meet my parents Veterans Day weekend for the Texas A&M game. Gig 'em, they're Aggies. And I remember sitting there and I was like kind of falling asleep in the car, and then I felt something and my hands like popped up, and I looked at Cody, and for like whatever reason I was like mad at him. Don't ask me why, but it was just little Atticus punching away at me, and it was really cute. And since then I was able to feel him a lot more, and that was really fun. And it's really reassuring too, because up until that point, like, you just have to trust that everything is good with your baby even though you can't feel them, and that's really hard because I'm a very anxious person. So I loved being able to get to feel him move. Second trimester is also when I had my first baby shower. We went home for Christmas in December, and so I was probably 25, 26 weeks pregnant at that point. And my mom and one of my best friends, Shelby is amazing, they put together the cutest baby shower for me. Christmas is my favorite holiday of all time, and so to have the coziest, cutest holiday combined with a baby shower for me was one of my favorite things ever. But yeah, end of second trimester, I started feeling a little bit rounder, a little bit larger. Thankfully, my mom had bought me some Martha Stewart Skechers slip-in shoes, which they're a game changer. Oh, okay, Atticus is up from his nap. Okay, Atticus is up from his nap, and he's currently playing on the floor beside me, so you'll probably get to hear some of his cute little sounds. Hi! Hello! Okay, so the third trimester was very rough. It started out decent. Like, I was very, very large, very in charge, and everything, you know, was like going pretty according to plan until around 32 weeks. And around that time, like, I started having some Braxton Hicks contractions, which is super normal. But that weekend, it was like Friday to Sunday, I was having them a lot, and they were getting, are you okay? And they were getting more uncomfortable. But I was like, well, they're not getting longer, stronger, and closer together, so I think it's okay. But finally, by Monday, Cody was like, hey, can you just go and get checked, make sure everything's good, because they've just been happening all weekend. He was like, you know, you can go to Target, you can go to Starbucks, shop around a little bit, it'll be good. And I was like, okay, you've convinced me. I'll go get it checked out. That is, in fact, not what happened. I went to the hospital, and the nurse is checking me, and she was like, you're 2 centimeters and 50% effaced, and you're contracting. And I almost started crying. I was freaking out. Cody was at work, and so I was there by myself. They're like, okay, we have to keep you for 24 hours to see how this is going and see what's going to happen. So they did a swab to see if I was going to go into labor within the next 24 hours. Thankfully, that came back negative. And then they had to do steroid shots in my butt to make sure that his lungs would be good if he did come early, and that hurt so bad. Like, one of the worst pains, and that's including giving birth. It was terrible. Are you gonna get a bag of chips? Yeah, so that was the longest 24 hours of my life. I don't know how people do extended hospital stays, especially by themselves. It was terrible. So thankfully, Cody was able to come after work and see me, but he still had to go home that night because we didn't have anyone to take care of our cats. Finally, they discharged me the next day, and they had given me some medication to kind of stop the contractions or at least lessen them. So, and then they also put me on bed rest until at least 36 weeks. So that's what I was doing. I was on bed rest until 36 weeks. Unfortunately, the nursery was not even close to being done. It was a disaster. But thankfully, my mom was already planning on coming. Atticus! Hi. Hi. Okay, I'm currently holding him now. He insisted on being held. So if you hear noises even closer, that is why. Yeah, so my mom, hi, she came and thankfully helped us out. She got the nursery all set up. And what was also amazing during this time was when I went into preterm labor and was put on bed rest, Cody reached out to our priest on base, and he and his wife and their son, they actually came over to our home, and they gave me communion, they prayed with me, and miraculously, they gave me this amazing relic from Saint Gerard Majella, and he is the patron saint of pregnant women and children in childbirth. And I still have it. I wear it a lot. It was such a sweet and generous and selfless gift, and truly, I think, just made all the difference in our pregnancy. So around 35 weeks, while my mom was still here, I started contracting 10 minutes apart, and that was one of the criteria for coming back in. So we went back in. Thankfully, I hadn't progressed anymore, which was amazing, but they still were concerned. So they're like, yeah, you know, just like still be careful, because contracting this often is not great, and it could mean that you are in the early stages of labor now, which at 35 weeks wasn't as concerning at 33 weeks, but still, like, you want the baby to stay in as long as they can to keep growing. And this is where the miracle comes in. That day, I had forgotten that as a Valentine's Day gift to me, Cody had arranged with our priest for me to get a blessing from one of the bishops in the Air Force when he came. And the day that my mom and I went to the hospital to get the contractions checked out was the day that the bishop had come and was doing his service, and I had honestly completely forgotten. So we rushed back home from the hospital. We made it just a little bit late to mass, and I'm sitting there just enjoying it in the back, you know, because I can't really stand up. I'm on bed rest. So after communion, I ended up going back to my seat. Bless you. Bless you. And our priest calls me up and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is happening right now? And it was incredible. The bishop ended up giving me the anointing of the sick, which is one of the sacraments in the Catholic Church. And it's beautiful because it is for healing. It absolves you of any sins, which at the time I had been really wanting to go to confession, but I was really nervous too. And also, like, because I was on bed rest, I wasn't able to. Okay, I set him back down. I think maybe he'll be happy here for a few minutes. So I got the anointing of the sick and it was incredible. But what was actually miraculous was after I received the anointing of the sick, my contractions stopped. They were extremely irregular and they were not progressing in strength like they had been before. And that, I believe, was truly a miracle from God, because as things were looking, I probably was going to be going into labor within the next few days. But actually, I didn't end up going into labor until I was 39 weeks. All of us were very surprised. I was very done being pregnant at that point, and I was debating getting a membrane sweep, but I remember just holding off. That's when that night, I remember Cody and I had played Scrabble because I was like, hey, this is probably going to be one of our last nights alone, and he won, and I was super annoyed. After Scrabble, I was just getting ready for bed, and then I got out of the shower and I felt up, and I was like, oh no, my water has broken. And so that is where my pregnancy recap will end. And one of the next videos I will do will pick up there because it will be our birth story. So I'm really grateful for everyone listening. Thank you for sticking with me through all the baby noises, all the bouncing of the baby to keep him entertained. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.